Hello everyone, welcome to Web Services Testing. Agenda for today is we'll talk about Web Service Introduction. We'll talk about SOAP and REST protocols. We'll talk about WSDL, okay, and then we'll talk about why SOA is required, and then we install SOAP UI tool. SOAP UI tool is the market leader web services testing tool available from SOAP.UI.org. So we'll install and we'll going forward you will use this tool. All right. So before starting, let me tell you, if you have any question, you can ping in chat, and if you have any question, we can talk at the end of the session. But in between also, uh, we'll take the questions. So if you have any question, you can ping, or if you want to talk, just raise your hand and I'll unmute you. Okay. All right. So let's move to web service introduction. And web services are a piece of code. Okay. So if I tell in daily basis, we use a lot of web services. We may or we may not know, but a lot of web services we use because nowadays web services become so popular in development, so that every organization has implemented because of many benefits. So here some points are listed out. So web services provide to establish communication between software which could be running on different machines. So there was some issue when uh, different platforms were evolving. Like earlier we have some legacy systems, and then Linux came, and mainframe was already there as a legacy system. Windows was there, Mac was there, and different servers came. Okay, then the problem was how these softwares will communicate to each other, because of they built on different technology. They built on different infrastructure, so how they will communicate to each other. So web services came in picture, and due to web services it had a lot of benefit. Like, this is platform independent. Okay, so if a system running on Linux system and it has to communicate with Windows or mainframe system, so web services can resolve this problem. Okay, so before that, let me explain few points. Okay, so let me explain first how web services works. Okay, so suppose there's a one platform, let's say it is mainframe system. Okay, and we have one, uh, suppose you can say client, and it is on Linux. Okay, or you can say a mobile device, right? So if we on our mobile, we many of us have installed various softwares. Okay, so suppose I have installed a news application. So if I open that application, behind that mobile app, lot of web services will be working. And if I send some request to the server that I want news about this. Okay, so it can be mainframe, it can be a Linux server, or it can be Windows server. Anything can be. Okay, that client send a request. Okay, uh, this request contains data and can be in any format. It can be XML. Nowadays JSON is very popular nowadays in web services, so it could be JSON, and these XML JSON are platform independent. Okay, and they just carry data. They don't bother about how to communicate and all. They just contain data, and they whatever you send in request, it will go to server, and server will process this request and it will send the response. Okay, so this communication is very fast, reliable, and it solves the problem of uh, different or various platforms, distributed platforms. So web services are a piece of code. Okay, so let me give an example. This server is, suppose I was talking about a news application. So this server has a piece of code. Suppose the organization has built up a large application, and they have exposed to outside world one small piece of that code. Okay, which is you can get news from here about out means news about it can be anything. Okay, so it depends on organization what they expose to outside world. Okay, because this can be restricted also. So web services can be accessed publicly. Okay, this can be restricted to limited users. So if the application that web service is uh, public, means it can be used by anyone, any person uh, who is who has uh, because it doesn't require any authentication, right? So it can be used by any person. So if that person knows the address of this server, and he has some client or any application which can send request, so from that device, it can be a mobile device, it can be a Linux or any a Windows machine, and it send the request to server to process that request, and that web service application knows how to process this request. Okay, and it process the request and it send the response back. Okay, so this is how uh, at a very high level this web services works. Okay, let me see if anyone has any question. What is other type beside JSON? So there is XML. Okay, there is JSON. We'll see all of these in coming sessions, but just for now, just remember that XML and JSON mainly we use to carry to send the data from one device to another device. These XML and JSON, they don't do anything apart from just carrying data from one platform to another platform. So that's why uh, web services use XML and JSON, because they are platform independent. Okay, and they're the language independent, platform independent. So all these qualities are there with XML and JSON. So they just carry data and it's sent to a server or the client. Alright, so any other question before moving further? Okay, let me erase this. And alright, so second point is reusing functionality already developed. Okay, so suppose there's a legacy system which is payroll department, which process a salary of the employees. Alright, now another system came, suppose uh, an SAP or any CRM tool came. Okay, and this developer have to integrate these two tools, or any HCM tool. Then if we have already uh, this some piece of code which process payroll, so we can the developer can create a small web service which can information can be sent to other applications. So if it is already developed, okay, we can reuse, okay, with many other applications. And application interoperability. Why it is so? Because as I was saying, web services are platform independent, and it can resolve the issue what we have earlier when various devices are there. So web services can talk to various devices uh, uh, because in nature it has, these are platform independent, language independent. So if they are exposed to that uh, particular client or particular uh, server, it can be accessed, okay, from a mobile device, from any other device like Windows or Mac or Linux. So this web services um, resolve these kind of problems. All right, so I hope you are clear with what are the web services and how it resolves the problem communication between two softwares. All right, so let me okay, so there are two things, team. Web services, first we'll talk about uh, SOAP based web services. Okay, so in web services there are two protocols. So one is SOAP. Okay, so this is one protocol. Previously many web services were using this. Okay, this is called simple object access protocol. So we'll start with SOAP protocol. Okay, and then we'll move to REST. All right, nowadays RESTful web services are very popular, and everywhere uh, we are using this. Okay, so every organizations are building web services using this REST. So REST is a architecture style, okay, and it mainly works with HTTP protocol. SOAP is another kind of protocol. Earlier uh, it was very popular, but there are differences are there between SOAP and REST. We'll talk in next class, but just for now, just remember that there are two protocols. One is SOAP, another is REST, and this is called representational state transfer. Okay, we'll talk how REST works and how SOAP works, but just for now remember these two things. Okay, so let's talk about SOAP. So SOAP based web services uses HTTP protocol. Okay, and they require WSDL. Okay, what is WSDL? We'll talk in next slide. Let me erase this. Okay, so WSDL is Web Services Description Language. It is the backbone of SOAP-based web services because it has every detail in it. It it tells what this web service does and other things, methods. Okay, so every information this WSDL will contain. So once a web service is there, and if you know this WSDL, okay, if you have this WSDL with you, you can access that web service. Okay, I'll show you how it looks like, this web services description language file. This is XML based, and we use for information exchange in decentralized and distributed environment. As we were talking about earlier, uh, how web services help us to communicate with different platforms and distributed networks. Okay, and WSDL definitions describe how to access a web service and what operation it will perform. So as I told you, the WSDL has every information what that web service does, okay, and how it does. So let me go to, there are many web services available there, team, public web services. And if you go to this webservicex.net, okay, so you can here you can find various publicly available uh, web services. So suppose I take this is stock quote web service, okay, and this is the endpoint. Endpoint is see, this stock quote is a name of that web service. So to access that web service, we require some address. So this is your server, and this is your web service name. So that's why the endpoint is to access your web service. Okay. And if I go and open this, here you can see a XML based file is opened. Okay. And here you can see a lot of information are there. Okay. So what kind of different messages will be there, and uh, what operation method it supports. So all this information will be here under this WSDL. So once developer developed any web service based on SOAP protocol, they will share this WSDL with you, and using this WSDL you can test that web service. Okay, so it also tells what it has only one method, team, that is get code. So what you can do, you can send request for any if you want to uh, get the stock price of any company, you can send request using this web service, and you can get that response. Okay, so it has only one method, that is called get code. Okay, so we'll see how we can use this. Okay, so before moving to next, let me see if we have any question. So is endpoint something which gives the XML description? No. XML endpoint is to endpoint is if I in a general way, if I say endpoint is address of that web service. Okay, so as I said here, stock quote is your web service name. All right, and to access that we have this address. Okay, and as I told you, this is WSDL. So this WSDL tells me what this web service performs and different messages it has. Okay, so those things this WSDL will tell me. Okay, so I hope there is no confusion in endpoint. Endpoint, just to remember, team, endpoint is the address of that web service. Okay, because that server where we are accessing, suppose this server is there, okay, which where we have hosted different web services. Okay, so there can be one stock quote, there can be one currency converter, there can be any other web service. So a lot of web services are there. Okay, so if I say W1 or W2, so web services 2, web services 3, so this server can have various web services installed or hosted. Okay, so if I want to access this web service 1, I need endpoint. Okay, so this endpoints tell me address of this web service on this server. In the similar way, if I want to access this web service 2, I need endpoint. I need address of this web service 2 address. So I know it is hosted on this server, but to access particularly this web service 2, I need endpoint. Okay, in the similar way, every web service will have endpoint so that you can directly access that web service. All right. Okay, so another question is how we can get response of code. So wait Kushal for 10-15 minutes, and then we'll install SOAP UI tool, and then I will show you, okay, how we can get response from the web services. All right. Okay, so I hope that WSDL is clear. What is WSDL? So let's move to SOA. Okay. So we were talking about web services and other protocols, SOAP protocol and REST protocol. But behind that, there is a service-oriented architecture. Okay. Basically, this service-oriented architecture resolves all of the issues we were talking about. How a distributed system communicate to each other, how different devices communicate to each other. So behind these web services, these architecture are there. This architecture, so architecture. Okay. Uh, this techniques actually resolves the problem of distributed and different networks. Okay, this is technique that involves the interaction between loosely coupled services. Okay, so I was telling about a server can have, or different servers are there which host web services, so how they will communicate to each other. So to resolve this, uh, there is service oriented architecture. So to develop any web service, uh, developers or the organization has to follow this, okay, to get all those benefits what we were talking about. So I hope these few points what we have talked today about web services, uh, SOAP-based web services, WSDL, and SOA. If you have any question, you can ping. Before moving to the next section, that is, we'll go and install SOAP UI tool. Okay. Any question, team? Okay, no. So let me go back to here and I'll go to soapui.org. Okay. So SOAP, this is the tool from Smart Pair, which is we mainly use for web services testing. Okay. Kushal, WSDL I have already explained. Okay. WSDL is web services description language, is describe a web service. So if you want to access any web service, you should SOAP West web service. Team, currently we are talking about SOAP based web services. Okay. And in coming few sessions, we'll talk about REST web services, RESTful web services. Okay, so there is a question, what kind of industry usually does web services? I did not get this question. What kind of industry usually does a web services? So let me answer in this way. Nowadays, if you are working in any development organization or any product, so mainly because of various regions, okay, developers they use microservices. Okay, so web services they use because of various regions, and these are very popular nowadays, RESTful web services. Okay, so every application nowadays has been developed using this uh, web services because of they are pretty fast in communication, they resolve a lot of issues. That's why uh, it is used. It is not depend on any industry kind of thing. In any domain, whether it is banking or healthcare or insurance, any industry, it can be used. So web services not dependent on any uh, industry or service. So a team, I think there is a confusion, like you are thinking web services are something different. Don't think it's a piece of software. How we develop software, so it is the same. It got a different name, web service. Okay, but in behind that is a piece of code. It is a small software. Okay, which solves particular problem. So web service is a small piece of code which has been hosted on software server, and you can access. So don't think about this is something else and it is based on some industry, or only some industry uses this. Nowadays many industry use this. Okay, and these are very popular. We'll talk on these things. Okay, there's another question, is microservices and web services interrelated? Both are same. Okay, just there are different names are there, web services, microservices. Can you give an example like how they are used for testing purpose? Okay, so if I say there is an application. Okay, so suppose there is this website is there, soapui.org, and I ask you to test this application. Okay, so what you will do, you will write test cases. You should know the functionality of this application. You will write functional test cases. You will execute that, right? because you know what this application does, because you know the functionality. So based on that functionality, you'll write your test cases. In the similar way, web service is also a piece of software, a piece of code, and it has different methods, different functionality. Okay, so you know what functionality this web service supports. So if I know what it supports, can I write few test cases and to test that web service, right? So in terms of code, stock code, this web service, what I was talking about. So I know this web service uh, tells me about the stock price of any organization. Okay. So if I have to write few test cases, so what I'll do, I'll send one uh, uh, in positive scenario, sorry, one positive scenario is I'll send one code, because if you are aware of stock market, every organization has that name, particular name, script name. Okay, so if I want to get the price of that organization, I can send and get the stock price. Okay, what could be the negative scenario? I can send a blank request, I can send an invalid request. Okay, so these three things mainly I can test, right? Now it is clear what uh, how we can test web service. Okay, so don't think web service is something different. It is similar to any application, but it is a small piece of code, a small software which solves a particular problem. So here stock code is a very small. It just returns you whatever you request for the stock price. So testing concept will be the same, but only differ the way we do. Okay. Another question is like web service applicable only for application with microservices. Don't confuse team between the term I used microservices and web services. Okay. So we'll talk in detail about these things. There's another question by UFT. Can we do functional testing? But why company use it? Okay. So UFT also supports uh, web services testing. Okay. Then the newer version supports web services testing. So let me answer this question this way. The question is UFT, we can do functional testing, but why company use it? Okay, a very good question. So if you have used UFT, that is UFT mainly used for automation of application user interface. Okay, user interface means you can see the application. If I go and I know URL and I can in any browser I can open that application, so you can see uh, that user interface. But in web services, you don't have any interface, user interface. Okay, so you cannot open in any browser and you can send some enter some values and you can send request. So there are uh, clients like SOAP UI, there can be REST clients, okay, which we can use to send request to the server. Okay, so don't mix UFT. UFT is a functional testing tool for user interface, but it also supports uh, functional testing of web services. Okay. Vidya, I'm not sure. You are still not getting it. So your question was, can you give example how that used for testing purpose? Okay, so this was before. Okay, all right. So let's move to this SOAP UI tool. So team, this is one of the tool. This is the market leader in terms of web services testing. Okay, there are various tools available if you go, like SOA is there. We use HP UFT also to test web services. But SOAP UI is very easy to use. Is its user interface is very user friendly, and it's very simple to use. Uh, the question team, SOAP is mainly used for integration system. Radhika, don't go there. Okay, let's concentrate on this tool. Okay, we'll talk, if things are not clear, we'll talk in detail in coming sessions. So now we'll focus on how to install. So before next class team, you have to go to this website and you have to download and install on your system. So I can click to download. So as I was telling, there are two versions are available. Okay, SOAP UI open source and SOAP UI NG Pro. So NG Pro requires license team. Okay, so NG Pro, it has various features which you will not find in SOAP UI open source. But don't think if you don't find those features in SOAP UI, we cannot do. We can do, but in a different way. So we'll see how we can do that. But for now, we will use this SOAP UI open source version. Mostly all of the features are available in this open source version, and if it is not available, we can use Groovy. Groovy is a language supported by this SOAP UI tool, so we can use Groovy to achieve that or to get that feature. Okay, so how to install? So you can click get it. Okay, so uh, meanwhile it is getting downloaded. If you have any questions, so let me know, I can answer. So I'll show you how to install. So currently it is being downloaded. Okay, another 5 seconds. Alright, so I don't see any other questions, so we can move to installation part. It is pretty simple team. Installation is pretty simple. You don't face any issue. So I can just double click here. Okay, and I'll click. So it's that installation process is started. So currently we are going to use SOAP UI 5.3.0. Okay, it will take a few minutes. So team, in between, if you have any question, you can put while this tool is downloaded and get installed. Why I thought to show you this installation process is because very many people uh, after the session they come and they ask about how to install and how we do. So that's why I thought to install in the class only. Okay, I accept. Okay, okay, next. So very you don't have to do anything, just accept the agreement. Okay, so it will be installed in a few minutes team. Okay, let me take a few questions meanwhile. If I understand correct, web service means your question is missing, Vidya. So team, the installation is done, and I can just click finish. Okay, and now it will be opened, this tool. So do we have any system specification for web services? No. Uh, do you want to help us to improve? Okay. Okay, I can skip this. I'll come to that question, and okay, allow access. All right. So once you installed and open SOAP UI, this is how it looks like. Okay. So let me go back to that question. There is one question. Do we have any system specifications? Uh, if you are on Windows system, it can be installed very in a simple way. But if you're not, if you have any Mac system, you can let me go to here, and you can go through this installation guide. Okay, and but on the Windows platform, it will be installed in very quickly. So other platforms like Mac, it may create problem, but just go to this installation guide and see if it is available for Mac also. All right, so it's like Kayak where you are giving your travel date. Vidya, can you write your question in once? In otherwise, I cannot get what you are asking. All right, so let's move to this tool, and over the period, this SOAP UI they have enhanced the user interface. They have gave a lot of features in it. So there's a few menu here, file where you can go and create projects. Okay, so we'll mainly currently we'll focus on SOAP based projects. So you can create a SOAP project, REST project. If you have already any web services product, you can import also here. Okay, you can create workspace and all those things. Lot of menu are there, and we'll see how we can utilize these things. Okay, this is let me highlight this. This is a project explorer team. Okay, this is project explorer, and if you create any project, it will be displayed here. So if you are aware, like any other uh, ID like Eclipse or NetBeans, so there we see a project explorer. Whatever you create a project, you can create from here, and that can be managed from here. On the right hand side, we will this is the just a welcome page. Okay, a starter page. I can close this one, and here we'll see like a request and response. So in coming few minutes, I'll create a project and I'll show you how to send request, get the response, and all those things. Here in SOAP UI, you can see properties, workspace properties. So currently we are under workspace. So if I create any project, it will be one workspace, and it will gives you some properties about that. So let me expand little bit this one. Okay, so this tells about name, description, file, project root. In the similar manner, if I create any project like stock code web service project, so that will tell me different properties. So this left hand side, the bottom, you will see the properties of for that particular project. Okay, so let's create one project team and let's see how it works. SOAP UI, how it works. Okay, before moving to that part, let me see the Vidya question. It's like Kayak where you give your travel date and get your results from all the websites. That is called web services, right? And that's correct, Vidya. That is the correct example. So a very simple thing. If I go to just I type news.google.in. Okay, so I can see it displaying various from the various news portals. Okay, I can get, so behind this news.google.in there is a web services, and they uh, pull the data from the different websites, different news websites. Okay, so there's a web service working behind it. In the similar way, let me explain a little bit more. Like Vidya was saying, Kayak. So if you search anything, they will fetch from different websites. Okay, so that is also, there's a web services working behind the user interface. Even like in daily uses, we go ATM and we draw money, we check account balance. So behind that also there are a lot of web services are working, but we don't realize, but a lot of web services are working. All right, team. So here let me go and create a SOAP project. So I can say stock code, and let me copy that WSDL. Okay, let me correct it. All right, so I can paste that WSDL here. Okay, and rest things by default you don't need to check anything. Just create for now. Click OK. All right, so now we can see one project has been created, stock code, and it is showing me two things. This is a request team. So this is request one. This is the method. Okay, this is the operation what this service web service supports. Now you can see you are also able to see one is stock code SOAP and stock code SOAP 1 2. So don't confuse between these. These are based on two different protocols. First one is based on, if you go here, it is SOAP 1.1. So the first request for SOAP 1.1, and if we go to SOAP 1.2, this is based on SOAP protocol 1.2. Both are similar, both are same, but based on different SOAP version. If you want, you can delete the second one. Okay, and we are good with one SOAP version 1.1. So let me open this request, and here you can see how it looks like. Okay, so it has this XML format, SOAP environment, header, body, get code, and web symbol. So here we need to provide symbol, and so this is the request team, and this question mark shows where we have to give input. Okay, so here we need to provide input and send request to the server. This is my endpoint. Okay, this is the uh, address of that web service, and this is the we call request. Okay, so and this side, what is the let me highlight this. This is currently it is blank. This is response window team. So if I send a request, and if that server is up and running, it will send me a response, and I can see here. Okay, so before that I was talking about the properties, so let me explain those things in terms of whatever the product we have created. So if I go here stock code, it is showing me different properties. Okay, product properties, name, and script language. We'll talk about Groovy as well in coming sessions. Custom properties, so if we want any to create any custom properties, so this is also a very important topic we'll cover in a separate class. So we can create custom properties as well at product level. Then we can create at interface. This is interface. Okay, and that interface will have different requests, and this is about properties of interface. And if you click that operation properties, this is operation, okay, method, and you can see a lot of information about that. Before going and create test suite test cases, let me explain how it looks like in SOAP UI. So team, in the next step is go and create test suite. Okay, why we create test suite? Because it will be easy to manage your test cases. Okay, so we'll create one test suite, and inside that there will be test cases. Okay, so there will be test cases, different test cases, and inside that there will be, for different test cases, there will be various test steps. Okay, so let's go and create a test suite. So if I right click here, and I can go and click new test suite. Okay, so you can also create from here, but I will go in from this interface, and I'll just click here, generate test suite. So don't worry about other options displayed here. As we progress, we'll see about. Okay, so but for now, click on that interface and right click and click on generate test suite. So if you click here, you will see different options. So test suite, we get the create, so it will create for us. Style, which way we want. Okay, so one test case for each operation. So there will be different requests, right? So for each operation you want to create one test case, or you want to create a single test case for each operation. Okay, with one request for each operation. So we'll select this default one. Okay, you can also select that this way. It will not change the process how we send request and response. It is just way to manage your test cases. Okay, request content, using a existing request interface or create new empty request. So I have, by default it is checked create new empty request, and here operations, so you can select unselect whatever the operations that web service supports and you want to include in your test suite. So you can check uncheck from here. Okay, you can skip this generate load test. Okay, we are not focusing currently on that, and click OK. Okay, so it asked me to give name for this test suite. So let me by default I'll whatever it suggests, I'll keep that. Okay, now this test suite has been created for me, and if I expand this, so it automatically generates for one method it generated get code test case. Okay, and if I expand this, there will be test steps, load test, security testing, but currently we will focus on this test steps. Okay, and if in test steps you can see this is a request team. Okay, whatever we see here, it is the same thing. So if I open, it is the same thing, request window we opened. Alright, so the in there will be different team. If you are using this open source version, you will find here a question mark where you have to give values. Okay, whatever uh, stock price you want, so you have to provide that symbol, a stock symbol here. In licensed version, the UI will be different. Okay, and there you need to enter values in kind of text box kind of thing. So at end of this course, we'll also explore that license version, that is SOAP UI NG Pro. Alright, so before moving, let me take few questions. So how do we specify what the information that need to be displayed from the what sites? The information needs to be displayed in web service. So these information is handled by the developers who has developed web service. Okay, so they will restrict how much information you will get from this web service. Okay, so we'll talk about various things this web services support in terms of RESTful web services. They are post, get, delete, put. So you can create data, you can get the data, those kind of things. But what the information we will get, that is handled by developers. Okay. Then next question is, in SOAP UI we can write our own code. Own code. So yes, we can write. This also provides uh, interface where we can write a script in Groovy. So we'll see that how we can write Groovy scripts. Okay. And if you want to explore this SOAP UI, so SOAP UI also support as API. You can use SOAP UI, and using Eclipse, Java, or any other language, you can create a framework. Okay, using Eclipse, Java, and this SOAP UI API. Okay, so that is not the point. What is test suite? So people who are from testing background, or if you have attended uh, QA live QA course or manual testing course, you must know this. What is test suite? Test suite uh, is a collection of different test cases, so that we call a test suite. So suppose there are 10 test cases, and for the smoke testing, okay, there are 10 test cases for regression testing. So how can I organize that? I can create a smoke test suite, and I can put all those test cases in a smoke test suite, and whatever the test cases are there which can go in regression testing, I can create a test suite, regression test suite, and I can put all those test cases under this. Okay, so how we can manage efficiently? So test suite is a collection of test cases in a general way, you can say. What are the response codes? Uh, Response code. So it doesn't send any response code. Whatever you request, that web service will give the information. Like if I send a request for stock price, it will give me the current stock price of that particular stock. Okay. Is load testing critical? Yes, it is critical, of course. Load testing is critical for any application, and it is also important for web services. Even security testing is very important for for these web services. Okay, but currently we'll mainly focus on functional testing of web services. Okay, so I'm not sure, but anyone knows a Facebook sign for whatever it is listed in NASDAQ? So I guess it is FB. Let me check. So here we can see, yes, it is the FB, and the stock price is 126.09. Okay, it gives you the different information like date, which date, and a change. A lot of information are included here. Okay, and if you want to check any other organization, I do not remember, but let me check ABB. Okay, so here we get it is currently it is 22.28. So this way, do you remember Apple? It's APPL, I guess. No. Okay, AAPL. Okay. Okay, that's good. So see, the last stock price was 119.75, and you can see a lot of details here. You can say the name Apple Incorporation. Okay, so this way, how you get the response. Okay, so someone asked about what the response code. There is no response code. It is just XML based response. Okay, you are sending some request from here, and we are getting response in XML format. So we requested for the stock price of Apple, and what we get here. So this is XML format, how we get the response. And this XML will have all those information what has been exposed to public, because we are not giving any authentication here. We are accessing publicly, so publicly it is available. So these are the informations what we can get publicly. Okay, okay, so you were talking about the response codes. Okay, sorry if I misunderstand that. So yes, of course, the response code will be 200. 200 shows that uh, it works perfectly and we get the response. If there will be error, so there can be 500, 404, 400. Okay, so these are HTTP based codes, which shows you if it is request is successful, response is successful, you will get 200. If there is any internal server error, you will get 500. If it is method is not supported, you will get 404. Okay, and a different information you will get here. All right. So any question, team? So still we have 10-15 minutes, and we can take up a few questions. Here also you can see different informations. I was talking about post. Okay, this post will be different. We'll talk in rest, and so different kind of information you can get from here. So this is how we create a project, and we send request, and how we get the response, and how to uh, check the value of that response. Okay, so there will be various things, team, we need to verify. Okay, because here it is a very simple request was there. We were generally only passing uh, one data, whatever we want to get the stock price of that company, and we are getting response. But how to validate? So someone, let me explain you. Someone has asked me about uh, how we test. Okay, so this is positive scenario what we have tested. So suppose I send a blank request. So if I send a blank request, so one exception we got. Okay, and if I go here to check the code, it is working perfectly. Means 200 okay, means we don't see any errors from the server side. But there is an exception. We don't get the right result. Okay, so this is one scenario. Suppose I give 1 2 3 4, and if I send some symbols are there, not sure. Okay, so different scenario, let me mix with some few alphabets. Okay, so by default it's sending me, but it's not giving any not applicable, or not available kind of response. Okay, so these few scenarios you can test to check the functionality of this web service. In from tomorrow onwards, team, we'll discuss how to verify the response, what the response has been written, how we can verify, and different ways to verify response. So there in SOAP UI, they are called assertions, and if we click here, okay, we can add different kind of assertion to assert the response. So whatever we get in a response, we have to verify that response is correct or not, because we know what will be the response if you are working with closely with developers, and you know the functionality of this web service. So you can expect, if I give this input, what can I expect as a response? So to validate that, SOAP UI has provided assertions, and here we can provide we can put a lot of assertions. So to validate invalid HTTP codes, not so fault, lot of uh, uh, assertions we can put. Then there is script assertions. We'll see how we can, using Groovy, we can use this. SLA response time, in how much time we got the response. So we can also assert this. Okay, here contains and not contains, XPath, XQuery match. So all these things we'll see from tomorrow onwards. Okay. So that's it for today, team. So let me know if you have anyone has any questions related to whatever we discussed today. So there is question, team, how do we run it on daily basis or automate it? Okay. So either we can see if you are using this Groovy SOAP UI, and if you have created uh, your test suite. So let me show you how we can in one click you can run all those test suite, but that is a manual process. Okay, but if you want to automate it, you can utilize, as I explained you can you utilize this SOAP UI API with Eclipse and with Java, and from there you can uh, schedule when to run and all. So that is a different story. Will not go in that much detail. But suppose I want to run from this test case. Okay. So earlier we have seen how we can send request. So let me here give one proper input, valid input. Okay. Let me go to test case level and I can click run. So if it is successful, we will get the green bar here that shows that request has been completed successfully. Okay, here is the method, and then here if you click, you will get the request message, what the request message was, and here the response message. Okay, and then the properties. All right, so from the test case level also we can execute. Here at the bottom you see SOAP UI log, so it generates log when you send request and when you get response. So it generates, it will be helpful when when something goes wrong. So this will be help you to debug. You'll also get the HTTP log, error log will get here. So it will be helpful to see what is going wrong. So these logs will be very helpful if something goes wrong. So it provides a log as well. Alright, so here we can uh, add various things like test description for this test suite, test case, sorry, and properties, and these things we'll see when we'll work with Groovy. So there are some various things I'm explaining, team. So let's go to test suite level and execute from here. So here also I can click this uh, green triangle, and if I click here, its request has been completed successfully, and it's showing a green bar here. Okay, that is finished. So in the similar manner, I can go to test suite level, I can click this here, and I can see request message, response message, and things. So suppose I have 15 test cases. So every test case will have a separate bar showing that it is passed or failed. So failed will be in red and pass will be in green. So in one go we can run all those test cases under any suite. But to automate and run on any particular time schedule, you have to think other things. Okay. All right. So what is the difference between SOAP UI and REST? SOAP UI is tool, REST is a protocol, REST is a architecture style. So earlier I told you about web services mainly works on two protocols. One is SOAP and REST. Okay, and SOAP UI is a tool, functional testing tool for the web services. What are the data entry methods? I already explained you how we can input data from here. Okay, so this is how we can give the input. if you want to provide any positive valid input or invalid input, those things you can provide here. Okay, so where do I see pass or fail? So I have already explained. So that's it for today, team. Thank you everyone. Thank you for joining this session, and let me know if you have any questions. So we have 5-10 minutes. We can go through the questions. Team, anyone has any question? Yes, Vidya. Should I unmute you? Okay, let me unmute you. Hello, Vidya.
Hi. So right now, whatever we did is basically like we were testing like how I asked you like regarding kayak. So it's like when I'm putting a query there like for the travel. So what we are testing is like whether the web service is working or not. Is that right? Like whatever the request I'm sending, am I getting the proper response?
Correct.
Is
So
that what we are doing right now, right?
correct. So we are validating that particular web service. Is that working fine or not? So if I send a request, I'm getting a response or not, and that response would be valid. So that's what we are testing. So for
Okay.
that, this purpose, we are using SOAP UI. There are various other tools available in the market to test web services. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
SOAP UI is one of them. So you can see there is no user interface. We are just sending a request and we are getting response from the server. All right.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay.
Any other question from you, Vidya?
Uh, I'm just trying to interlink. I don't know. I might sound wrong, but I don't know. I just wanted to ask, like,
Yeah, please go ahead.
okay. So when you're doing with SOAP UI, that means like, the SOAP UI is connected to all the servers? I mean, when you are asking for a request and you're getting a response, means this SOAP UI, whatever the tool that we are using for web services functionality testing, is it connected to all other servers? Like how? I mean, I didn't get that. Is
Okay.
it not
So
appropriate? Then I don't know.
no, that is good question, Vidya. So see, we earlier we talked about endpoint, right? So
Mm-hmm.
endpoint is the address of that web service. So suppose that server has 10 web services, and I want to access that get code web service. So I know the endpoint of that web service. So endpoint means the address for that web service on that server. So SOAP UI doesn't have any connection with that server, or it knows the server where it is located. I just know the endpoint. I have given that endpoint while creating the project, and that's it. And I can send the request and get the response. So in
So,
this, I don't
mhm.
require any authentication, user ID or password, because it is publicly available. If it is restricted, then I need user ID and password to access that web service.
Okay. So as you're given the endpoint, so it knows like where it needs to get the response from. Is
Correct.
that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Vidya.
Thank you. Thank you so much again.
Okay. All right. Okay. So there's another question. This is regarding web services have some issues in Selenium project. Okay. Okay. All right. I'll check that email and respond back. All right, everyone. So thank you so much for joining this session. And I don't see any other question right now. So let's meet in a next session. of the web services, and we'll talk further. Yes, Asa, do you have any question? Yes, we have a Selenium Live project class today. Yes, we have. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining today. Bye for now.